Hello and welcome back to Scout Report, where once again we're taking on a totally uncontroversial topic: how Barcelona can move on from Luis Suarez. Now, that may seem harsh to you. The Uruguayan has scored 18 and assisted 6 in 27 appearances so far this season, and despite turning 32 in January, remains one of the most lethal and clutch forwards in the sport. But the decline is in progress. After being involved in 56 league goals in his first full year at Barca, Suarez has contributed to 42 in his second, 37 in his third, and is set to see a further drop this campaign unless he bags 13 goals and assists over the final 10 games of the season. And in the Champions League, the deterioration is even more stark. In his first 2 seasons at Barca, Suarez was involved in a goal every 78 minutes, but last year that dropped to a goal or assist every 221 minutes. This term, the former Liverpool man boasts in just 3 assists and 0 goals in 6 European matches. That probably isn't quite representative of how good Suarez has been. He's still a great player, but it does indicate that he's losing his edge against the best defences, and at Barcelona, second best is never good enough. So here are our suggestions on how the Blaugrana could reconfigure their front line to replace the irreplaceable. But first, make sure you're subscribed to Eurofootball Daily and make sure you hit the notification button for more great content. Let's get into it. 5. Play Messi as a 9. Solution number 1 sounds good on paper, parking the greatest goalscorer of his generation in the centre-forward position and letting him bang goals. Though just 5 months younger than Suarez, Messi has had one of the greatest seasons of his career in 2018-19, racking up 41 goals and assists in La Liga at the time of writing. That's one every 53 minutes. With an insane 5.7 shots a game, the Argentinian is shooting more than in every previous campaign bar 2017-18, making 137 attempts on goal in league play to date. That's just 10 fewer than Bale and Benzema put together. So he seems to be having no problems getting efforts off, but he's currently taking more shots from outside the box than ever before, a trend which began last season, and overall, that paints a picture of a team relying more and more heavily on their little magician to drop deep and make the impossible possible. At his age, that's a recipe for disaster, and one possible way to alleviate the burden would be to put the veteran up top. With less ground to cover, Messi could conserve his energy for short bursts around the edge of the box. As for creativity, there should be plenty in the side. Dembele and Coutinho have produced around 4 key passes per 90 this year, with fullback Sergio Roberto and Jordi Alba adding another 3. Add the arrival of an elite midfield dribbler in Frankie de Jong, and this should make it even easier for Barca to blow up opposition structure. However, this system would deprive Barca of their very best creator, with Messi creating more chances per game currently than at any time since 2009. It would also arguably highlight his worst qualities. Messi is not a guy who excels at finding space in a crowded box like Lewandowski or Ronaldo, but someone who makes his own space by breaking into the box from deep or wide areas. He could feasibly be marked out of the game if he always stayed in the 18-yard area, as defenders could cut off passes into him. This plan would also require Dembele and Coutinho to up their goal scoring considerably, or Messi would be the only reliable threat. The pair have 12 league goals in 2,900 minutes this season. Otherwise, it could make Barca even more reliant on Messi than Valverde's current setup, or force the club to invest heavily in a winger who can both score and create, in the mould of Leroy Sané. Given that that sort of player would be likely to cost well over 100 million euros, surely it would be simpler to just buy a top-draw centre forward. We make this the worst option out of the 5. 4. 2 up front. Our second suggestion is to keep Messi in the final third, but pair him with a hard-working forward who could bring the best out of him. Though Suarez rightly gets plaudits for his goal scoring, his finest performances at the Camp Nou came with Neymar and Messi on either side of him. Under Enrique, the Uruguayan would constantly shuttle wide to give the wide man space, and his most prolific season in Spain was also Neymar's, the Brazilian banging 24 goals from the wings, thanks to the centre-forward's selflessness. So while it may not seem particularly Barcelona, the club could opt for the workman-like striker in the mould of Mario Mandzukic, who could hold the ball up for Messi and do the defending he doesn't want to. Firmino and Lacazette are no-goes, but cheap options here would be forwards like Celta Vigo's Aspas, who could leave cheaply if the Galatians are relegated, or Saint Etienne's Wabi Kazri. Though neither one would set pulses racing into Catalonia, both players put up between 1.5 and 2 tackles and interceptions per game and have solid key pass numbers, creating over 2 chances a match for their teammates. But the best choice in this role would be Frankfurt's Sebastian Haller. The 6'3" Frenchman is having the season of his life, putting up 0.9 expected goals and assists per 90 in the Bundesliga. He is actually the only player in Germany to rank in the top 10 for both categories, and it isn't just the underlying stats which are strong. The 24-year-old is 4th in the division for goals on 14 and 3rd for assists with 9. A true giant, Haller wins an insane 8.5 aerial duels every match, the best in the Bundesliga and 4th in Europe, which would give Barcelona a threat they haven't had since Ibrahimovic was at the club. Factor in his 2 tackles and interceptions a match, and you have a strong option which wouldn't break the bank. But could Haller lead the line alone if Messi became injured? And should the Argentinian have someone making space and chances for him when he's the best who has ever lived in both departments? We're not sure. Let's check out option 3. 3. Buy a wide goal scorer and move Messi into midfield. Not all declines are the same. Luis Suarez may have seen his production go down year on year, but the South American is still putting up a truly outrageous 1.05 expected goals and assists per game. And importantly, he is just as involved in build-up play as ever, completing the same 30 passes a match as he has during his whole time in Spain, and creating 1.5 chances, the worst tally of his Camp Nou career, but still more than respectable for the striker. So perhaps we should look for a solution which keeps Suarez on the field and allows him to express some of his creativity which made him a star in England while removing a little of the goal-scoring burden. The answer here would be a true wide forward, a player like the younger Cristiano Ronaldo, who is happy to stay away from the ball until they arrive in the final third on the end of a quality chance. And one of the best wide forwards is currently starring in the Premier League, but we haven't picked Mo Salah, Leroy Sané or Anthony Martial. Instead, we think the Blaugrana could make a player for Tottenham's Heung-min Son, who went from very good to outstanding in the course of the 2018-19 season. To date, the Korean has been involved in 16 league goals, scoring or assisting every 102 minutes. That may sound like it's way off Barca's expectations, but actually, Suarez scores or assists every 95 minutes. When you take into account that the Uruguayan plays for the best side in the division, with the league's best attack, and Son plays for an injury-hit outfit in a fight for 4th with the Prem's 5th best attack, the gap starts to close. Crucially, Son is a volume shooter from wide, but still has good decision making. He ranks 10th in the Prem for shots per 90, but despite his wide position, he has better shot quality, according to expected goals, than Cristiano Ronaldo at Juventus. He also completes around 2 dribbles a game, wins a ton of fouls, presses well, and even has an 82% pass accuracy. That's a rate which ranks him in the top 10% of forwards and would presumably transfer nicely to the Camp Nou. With an added ability to fill in at centre forward, you have a great signing in the making. If you ignore the fact that famously tough Spurs chairman Daniel Levy would probably charge 150 million euros. So is there a simpler, more cost-effective option? 2. The short-term solution. With Frankie de Jong and possibly De Ligt joining the club in the summer of 2019, as well as a 600 million euros expansion of the Camp Nou in progress, Barca would probably have to forego big money moves for dream strikers like Gabriel Jesus, Kylian Mbappe or Mo Salah, with all 3 likely to cost well over 150 million euros. And it's understandable. If they'd prefer to keep their powder dry rather than shell out for a second-rate option who may not even suit their style in the long term. In that case, it might make sense to consider a slightly cheaper move for an older forward who can contribute for the next couple of years, and that's where Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang comes in. Turning 30 this summer, the Gabonese international is not much younger than Suarez, but would give the Blaugrana a couple of years to see how the striker market develops. Aubameyang is more than good enough. The Arsenal man has 21 goal involvements in 25 starts for the Gunners this season, either scoring himself or playing the killer pass for a teammate every 106 minutes in the Premier League. That's particularly impressive, given that he spent plenty of time out wide under Unai Emery, moving the ball forward and build up play. This is shown by his numbers of passes per appearance rising from around 16 to 23, closer to his early days at Dortmund when he was stationed on the wing. His expected goals and assists per 90 minutes stands at an amazing 0.92, behind only Aguero and Sterling in the English top flight, and that's actually his lowest rate since 2014-15, thanks to the Gunners' patchy form in the debut campaign under a new coach. He is also good at taking care of the ball, losing possession once a game, or roughly half of Suarez's rate, and his outstanding pace means that even if he loses step, he is likely to remain quick enough to get away from most defenders and get onto through balls played by Messi in a 3-man midfield. So would Arsenal let him go? No doubt the club would be unhappy about it, but with Mkhitaryan, Ozil and Uba all over 29, earning a combined 850k a week or roughly 44 million euros a year, and a defensive rebuild due, they could be tempted by a big offer. Given that they spent just 67 million euros on the forward back in January 2018, 85 to 90 million euros could be enough to get the famously tight Gunners to the negotiating table. 1. The long-term solution. Regardless of how good Aubameyang is, he'd still be expensive, and Barca's move for Arthur, Dembele, De Jong and De Ligt show that the club are less scared of youth than ever. So a younger option would be better, and frankly, it's unlikely that the options at forward would be better in 2 years' time than they are now, Case in point, Frankfurt Serbian striker Luka Jovic. Put simply, 21-year-old Jovic is a goal machine. On loan at Frankfurt from Benfica, the forward stands just under 6 feet tall, and in 2,200 minutes across the league and Europa League this season, he's bagged 22 goals and 6 assists, scoring or assisting every 79 minutes. Those numbers have come on a team sitting 5th in the Bundesliga, and while he's been ably assisted by Sebastian Haller and Ante Rebic, you can only imagine how his scoring rate would skyrocket at a genuine super club. With 4 shots a game and 85% of those coming from inside the box, Jovic is ahead of Suarez both in quantity and quality of attempts, and as a result, he's been linked with Arsenal, Chelsea and Real Madrid. But he'd actually be a better fit for Barca than Real. While Los Blancos need to replace Benzema now and might realistically worry about playing a 21-year-old in every league and Champions League fixture, Barca could alternate Jovic and Suarez, allowing the youngster to beat up on the Liga's weak sides and saving the veteran for big European matches. The former Red Star Belgrade man loses the ball less than Suarez, dribbles as much but with greater success, and even wins around half of his aerial duels, which is a strong performance in a youngster with room for physical development. And to make the decision even simpler, Frankfurt are reportedly only asking for 60 million euros for the forward, as they can make his loan permanent this summer for just 6 million euros. That makes Jovic the cheapest option as well as the right one. And if Barca want to start constructing their new super team, then Luka Jovic should be holding the famous red and blue shirt this summer. So that was 5 ways Barcelona can move on from Luis Suarez. If you think we missed anyone out or have any suggestions, comment below. And as always, like and subscribe to Football Daily, EuroFootball Daily and FDFC for more brilliant football content. See you guys later.